Now we're going to take a look at plant cell structures. So we saw all of the organelles that are found in both plant and animal cells. So if you look up here at the little diagram, you can see the nucleus, you can see the rough ER, you can see mitochondria, you can see the smooth ER, the Golgi in the background. You can even see the cytoskeleton, those little fibers that are running around in there. We're going to take a look at those structures now that are only found in the plant cell. So the first one we're going to look at is the one that's highlighted in the picture here, and that is the plant cell wall. So the plant cell wall does the same thing as the prokaryotic cell wall does. So you can see there, it provides additional protection and support. This is what makes plants crunchy. So whenever you break a stem or crunch on a leaf or bite into something like celery, this is what gives those plants their crunch, right? Now you can see here, they can make different layers of them. So you can have different sections of cell wall to give you extra strength. It also protects against losing water. So that's an extra protection. And hopefully it makes sense. It gives protection against things that might eat them. So it gives that extra layer of protection against things that would chew through to try and eat the plant parts. We can crunch up some of it to be able to get into the gooey part, but we can't digest this because what kind of molecule is the cell wall made out of? The cell wall is made out of cellulose, and it's one of those non-digestible carbohydrates. Right? So this is part of the fiber part of our diet. All right, so that's the cell wall. The next structure that's found in plants. Now you can find these sometimes, a version of them in animal cells, but it's usually single-celled animals, so that's why we consider this basically a plant structure, is a vacuole. Don't worry about this, I've got this written bigger here in a second. These are basically multi-purpose storage areas, and this is the structure, when I talked about the nucleus, that can make it difficult to find the nucleus in a plant cell, because it can take up over half of a plant cell's space. It's going to be used to store all kinds of things. You can see the last structure we're going to talk about here. You can probably guess what that one is. But let's talk about what kinds of things are going to be used or stored in this vacuole. So it's often called a central vacuole, mainly because it's usually in the center of the cell. One of the things it's going to be used to store is nutrients. So any extra nutrients that the cell needs to store away, it's going to get tucked into this central vacuole. This is also a place where the cell can store some waste if it doesn't have the ability to get rid of it right away. So any sort of, extra waste products it can put in here, and also it's got some enzymes in the vacuole, so it can kind of munch away on any of those wastes. Predator deterrents. I know this sounds so weird, but the vacuole is where plants can put different types of nasty tasting chemicals and toxins, so that if an animal bites into a plant, they are going to puncture into that vacuole and they're going to get that mouthful of, nasty. So they can put chemicals into the vacuole. Sexual reproduction. So this is the structure that some plants are going to use to create color in their flowers. So they fill the central vacuole with color to make their flowers colorful. And then the last one is for physical support. So this is a section that has a lot of water in it. And so it's sort of used as water storage, but more it's used as a support section. Think about it as like a water balloon. And so the plant can push water in there and blow the balloon up so it'll push against the sides of the cell wall to help give extra support to the plant. If you don't give the plant enough water, like you saw in something like, the diffusion videos, that vacuole collapses, and that's what actually can help collapse and create wilting in a plant. So it's a really, really important structure in plant cells. And then the last one, this is kind of what defines a plant, right? And that is the chloroplasts. So chloroplasts are the plant's solar plant, right? They're what's going to collect energy. They're going to collect light in their chloroplasts and turn it into chemical energy in the form of glucose and other molecules that they use to build their structure. You can see they've got these little thylakoids and their little stacks of membrane. This is where the chlorophyll's at. And then the stroma, that's where they're actually going to make the sugar. You can also see, just like with the mitochondria, they've got their own DNA. So these guys are just like the mitochondria. They are ones that we think got eaten by a eukaryote ancestor and converted into an organelle. So just another reminder for that endosymbiosis theory. Chloroplasts resemble those photosynthetic bacteria. They have circular DNA and a dual outer membrane, just like mitochondria have their circular DNA and a dual outer membrane, and resemble bacteria that can use oxygen to turn food molecules into energy. Right? And then just as a little summary, here are the different structures that just went through in the last couple lectures. So the structure itself, its function, and then which kind of cell you find it in. That wraps up Chapter 4.